Guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we want to spend a little bit of time, not a lot, but a little bit of time, just making sure that everyone, when they're looking at new golf clubs, does not waste money. It is one of my biggest bugbears. I've been in this industry now for 20 plus years, and the amount of times I see golfers waste money on equipment that doesn't help their golf game frustrates me like you wouldn't believe. And here at AFGolfStore, we spend a lot of time trying to convince players not to spend money as much as we do to try and convince them to do spend money. You know, we're at the end of the day, we're a golf shop, so we want to sell golf clubs, but we want to sell them in the right way, and we want to sell the ones that work and actually fit for you, the golfer. So it's not a rant as such today, but what I want to make sure is that we stop looking, or we try and get golfers to stop looking for the silver bullet. We know every year the suppliers are going to bring out brand new products, and that gets really exciting. And you know, I'm a golf geek as much as the next person, and I love new equipment as much as the next person. But rushing out and getting the latest driver and the latest 3-wood and the latest fairway wood is all well and good, but maybe it's not the right answer. Maybe the right answer is to get fitted, make sure you take your time with that purchase, and also make sure that the club that you're looking to purchase actually does the job that you're wanting it to do. So I've done a video on this before, and Chris has asked me to do another one on the similar topic, which is we want golfers to set up their golf bag from top to bottom in a way that is useful and structured for the golf course. So really simply, if you hit your driver, and the best driver you can hit, the best driver, out the middle, absolutely nailed it, smoked it, you know, never going to get it back, 10 out of 10, best driver you've got in your locker goes 200 yards, and that's the best you can hit it, the chances are on average you're probably going to hit it 190, right? You're going to hit the odd 200, but the chances are it's going to go 190. So we really only want to see a golf bag set up that, well, if your maximum is 190, and let's say your next fairway wood, I always like to see a 20-yard difference off the driver, is 170, then you've really only got to get enough clubs between there and probably zero, but probably about a 50, 60-yard pitch shot. So how many clubs would that be? Well, typically it might be about 10. It's not going to be 14, it's going to be 10. Now, if I'm Rory, or I'm Dustin Johnson, and I'm hitting it 320, the gap between 50 yards and 0 and 350 is a lot bigger, so I'm going to need more clubs, I'm going to need more coverage, and we're going to need more clubs that might do different jobs for me at different yardages. But what we want to make sure is that you're setting up your golf bag, and you're getting custom fit, and you're buying golf clubs to match what your golf game you want to do in your golf game. So if you're a guy that loves to flight the golf ball in and stop it on the green, well, let's have a bag that's set up to play in that way. If you prefer chip and runs, if you prefer hitting it lower, you know, it's not all about this wonderful world that we live in, which is Trackman technology. And I'm a big Trackman fan, right? We've got a lot of them. We've got a whole family of Trackman, right? We seem to be breeding them at the moment in AFGolfStore. But one of the things that's really important to us is that whenever you get custom fit, it's not only about setting up the bag for your distances, it's also setting up the bag for the type of player you are. Now, the reason I talk about this is because we know that you can adjust driver heads and lofts and head weights and so on and so forth to create different ball flights. We know that. But if you've got a player that is naturally wanting to right to left it all the time, they like to sling it with a driver, and you correct it because you change the weight and you straighten it up, he might not want to see that. He might, but he might not. And I think what you've got to do as a player when you're coming in for a fitting session is be very clear on what you want to see, what you want as a result, but also be honest with yourself that actually we only need enough coverage. We want 10 efficient clubs if you're 200 yards to 0. We don't want 14 ineffective clubs. How many of you have bought a 4-iron and left it in the bag? How many of you have got that 3-wood and that 5-wood and said, well, they kind of do the same job, they go the same distance? I would imagine there's more than one person watching this video that has had that conversation with themselves, or even gets to the point where they take out the 5-wood because they can't be bothered to carry it. And the always trick is this time of year. And I always find this time of year interesting, but you're not quite there yet in terms of trolley bands and quick rounds. But quite often this time of year, the trolleys are banned from golf courses. You get guys put in pencil bags or small bags, and they take a few clubs because they can't be bothered to carry the whole bag, and they play just as well, just as effective with 7 of their normal 14 clubs, and they wonder why. Well, it's because half the clubs they were probably carrying were doing the same job as the 7 they're carrying in their carry bag. So what we've got to make sure is that the clubs that cover enough yardage, cover enough loft, cover enough shot shapes that you want to hit, but more importantly, that when you come in, you're not buying the matching 5-wood to the 3-wood just because you like a matching head cover. Now, that's my advice. If I'm standing behind the counter in one of our shops and you're adamant that you want that 5-wood, then I'll go and get it and I'll happily take your credit card. But my advice would be, don't spend the extra £250. Go and get some lessons. Go and spend it on, look at a new custom fit putter if that's what's going to make the difference. Or just don't spend the money. Use it wisely and make sure that you're more frugal and more thoughtful in the way you set up a golf bag. And also, don't get too, and this is one of my little bugbears, is don't get too hung up with what the number or the loft says on the bottom. So we had a gentleman this week, or I actually had a gentleman this week at our Cambridge store, and he was looking at wedges, and he bought a set of new irons, and he had SM8, so the old previous Titleist Vokey wedges, and he had 50, 54, 58. That was his wedge combination, and he was trying to hit, and he bought a new set of irons, and the pitching wedge was going too far, right? So there was a gap between his pitching wedge and his 50. Now, he wanted a new 50-degree wedge that would close that gap. Now, logic says that's probably not going to happen. You might find one where the CG's changed a little bit to give you a bit more yardage, but the reality is that 50 degrees is 50 degrees. And when you're getting up into that world of spin rates and so on and so forth, 50 degrees is 50 degrees. You might eke out another 2 or 3 yards. He was looking to increase this new 50 by 15 yards or 10 yards. Well, I couldn't work out how it was going to happen. So we let him explore that. We gave him some 50 degrees. We let him hit them. He said one felt better. But the reality is on Trackman, the number was exactly the same. So what did we do? Well, we looked at a different type. We looked at, firstly, we looked at strengthening his current wedge. So we made the loft stronger. So we said, well, okay, well, let's take your 50 and bend it to 46. And let's see what that does. His argument was a bit confusing. He was like, well, that's similar to my pitching wedge. But the big difference is the two heads, one was an SM8 and one was the new P790. Now, the 790 head is designed for ball speed. It's designed to come off there fast. It's designed to come off there further. The fact that the loft is getting closer, so we're moving that to 46 and getting closer to the pitching wedge loft, doesn't really mean a lot. But what happened was he gained a bit more yardage with that bent 50 degree. It went the distance. It still said 50 on the bottom, but where I'm trying to get with this is that it doesn't matter what the number says or the loft says on the bottom if it produces the carry distance, the total distance, and the ball flight that you want. So you could end up with a driver and a 7-wood if that's the best option from the driver loft. It's absolutely fine. You don't need a 3-wood. You don't need a 7-wood. You need a 5-wood, sorry, just to fill the gap to make sure the head covers all match in the bag. So look, it's really important. There's lots of new product out there. It's brilliant times for the golf industry because when you have a product launch that's in July, August, September, it means going into Christmas, there's lots of exciting toys around for people to play with. If you're looking to upgrade this winter, whether it be irons or woods, just make sure you're really thoughtful in how you want that mapped, and make sure when you go for a custom fit that it's mapped accordingly so that you get the yardages that you want, the coverage of distance that you want, and more importantly, you don't spend money where you don't have to. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like our channel, we're putting out lots more content. If you like our channel, please hit that subscribe button and tell all your golfing friends.